Hey, so what I'm doing is I'm working on my master's in educational technology, but I also happen to be the home and hospital instructional coordinator for Fresno Unified School District. So part of the exercise of this class is to start a blog. And so I started researching blogging, and do you know there is zero blog activity on HHI on the internet, which I was stunned at. But then I thought, what a great opportunity to share with our parents and our kiddos and my teachers what's happening in the program, what we're thinking about, what's going on in the world of home instruction. And so in my searches, I found a couple of the Carlson Home Instruction YouTube videos that are out there that star Joe.
Margie was behind the camera.
Was she? Well, it was really, in fact, I posted the one that's kind of a overview of your whole school and everything on my blogs, just to give my other classmates, because people go, what is home instruction? They have no idea.
So are you talking about the one with students?
The documentary?
Yes. The documentary, the 9-minute documentary?
Fabulous. It is so inspiring. I really liked it. So that was, how long ago did you do that?
That one was done, what, 4 years ago or so?
No, it was before I got here. So it was over 5 years ago.
Oh,
wow.
So, yeah, it's been a while.
Time for another one. It's really entertaining.
Yeah.
So anyway, tell me a little bit about your school and how your school functions. That's a very broad question for such a large school.
It is very broad. A little bit about the school. Well, we're the only school in the district that does what we do. And when you consider the fact that, you know, LA Unified has 600 and something thousand students, you know, 900 or 1,000 schools, you know, and 400 of those schools are elementary schools, and so many of them are middle schools and high schools and option schools. We're the only one tasked with what it is that we do.
Right.
So, you know, if you know anything about the boundaries of LA Unified School District, or I should say the boundaries of LA, of just LA in general,
sure.
Those are our boundaries. And so any student that needs our services, we have to provide them. You know, I don't know how big your school district is and how big your HHI is, but
I would tell you that we grew very large. I am the only person who deals with home instruction in the district for coordinating all the teachers and students. There's just me. So I have about a staff of roughly 100 teachers. We served about 185 kids last year in total. Mm-hmm. So comparatively, I am a splinter in your pinky compared to what you guys do. But we're still, you know, we serve the same population essentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have over, you know, it sounds like that, you know, just based on the numbers that you presented, it sounds like you work with teachers that we would call, or who we would call, supplemental teachers here in LA Unified.
That's correct.
And supplemental teachers are teachers that work elsewhere in the district full-time and then work for us after their school day is over.
That's exactly what I do. Although I have lots of teachers who say they want to come and work with me full-time, we're not there yet.
Right. You know, so we have, you know, just to give you a few numbers over here, we have 43 full-time teachers, 43 full-time home teachers. Mm-hmm. And a full-time home teacher can work with up to 5 students.
Okay.
And then we have 18 full-time hospital teachers. You know, so, you know, and they're located at the different hospital. You know, at many of the bigger hospitals, and
right.
Certainly we provide services to students that are in hospitals that, you know, where we don't have a presence. But then we, so that's about 61, 62 teachers or so. And then we have about 210, 220 part-time, what we call supplemental teachers. Those teachers work elsewhere in the district.
Right.
Everywhere and anywhere in the district, including Carlson. And they take on another 1 or 2 students with us. Now, the instruction that we provide, but then we can get into this other thing because we're really not done talking about our teachers, because we also are running the teleteaching program, and for our home students, and so we're starting to, we inherited this program about 2 years ago, and what we inherited was a phone-based system that had been in operations for, I don't know. Well, what I've heard is 40 or 50 years. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. And basically, the program was set up as a conference call program. So students that, whose parents maybe couldn't be home when the teacher was, was to be providing the services, or students who are dangerous, homicidal, whatever, would be referred over to teleteaching. We, in the 2 years that we've had the teleteaching program, we've grown it by leaps and bounds, because it was one of those things that the district was looking for the justification in order to provide teleteaching, and there was nowhere that they could find an ed code that justified teleteaching per se. But they were looking in the wrong place, and because they were looking at types of schools. So elementary schools are defined in ed code. Secondary schools, whether they be high schools or continuation schools or CDSs, they're all defined.
Right.
But teaching wasn't defined as its own entity. However, within the CCRs, I think that's what it's called, the regulations. Within the regulations, there were 3 words that justified teleteaching coming over to us, and and basically what it said is that the instruction, the appropriate instruction for home and hospital is either individually, one-on-one, in small groups, or by teleteaching, or by teleclass.
Oh, interesting.
So those 3 words, or by teleclass, is really what justified Carlson being given the responsibility to do the teleteaching program, which we embraced, by the way. I mean, we embraced it because we saw the potential. Potential wasn't in what was currently being done at the time. The potential was in bringing it into 21st century technology.
Right.
And it was a better fit for the students we serve, as opposed to being off at some other school.
Well, let me ask you a question then, because it leads me to something, and you said something about students that are homicidal and that sort of thing, that are a danger to themselves or others. And one of the things that I found in my own numbers this year was a 30% increase in students who were requesting home hospital instruction for social and emotional reasons, whether they had school anxiety, school phobia, were suicidal, were depressed. Is that something that you see this teleteaching program with those kids that are more of the social and emotional bend than, say, they're going through cancer treatments?
No, I mean, well, we provide, we've always sent the home teachers in to work with the students, but the issue, used to be, what do we do with this student who is a danger?
Right.
Because a student who's a danger to himself is not a danger to a teacher. A student who's a danger, sometimes you have to look at, what others mean, a danger to others. What does that mean? Other students? Does a student only lash out to other students because they're being bullied? Who knows what that really means?
Exactly. Right.
But when it talks about a danger to adults or a danger to teachers, and the student has a history of that, that's a student that we're not going to be able to send a teacher into, and that's a student who I want to say is an ideal candidate, but by no means means that student's only, or that type of student is the only ideal student for teleteaching. But we've seen, it feels like, I don't have any real numbers on this, although I can figure them out, but it certainly feels like we have had a marked increase in the number of psychiatric referrals that we get. And for whatever reason, our school has also grown, since we've, for one thing, since we've been here, we've really made sure that people know about us, like through the videos, and so we have a bigger presence now.
We've, Joe several years ago met with the district nurses to kind of let them know so that they know what to do when they have a student that's unable to go to school. So that was a bump too.
As well as, just ongoing meetings, whether they be with principals, because we have, LA Unified has 6 local districts.
Right.
So you go to the local districts and you speak at the principals meetings.
Right.
Or you speak to the psychologists, or you speak to different groups, and more and more people get to know who we are.
Yeah, that's a constant battle of people, because staff changes so quickly at school sites that, between meeting with the nurses and the leadership of the different schools, it's important, I think, to keep sharing that common message that we're there to support those kids that can't attend.
But I want to get back to a little bit to the teleteaching.
Yes.
And we've, the teleteaching program now is basically what we're doing right now. That's why I thought it was, when I sent you the email last night, I thought it was kind of ironic that here we are doing the teleteaching program, and I'm going to have problems joining the meeting. I can deal with these things in concept and in theory. But we no longer use the conference call method. Basically this is what our students are doing. We started out with 2 teachers is what we inherited for the teleteaching program, and right now we have 6 teachers in the teleteaching program. And what we're able to offer those students are actually, it's actually kind of exciting. It's the newer thing that we're doing, and I actually do see it as being a big part of the future of our school. So we have the teleteaching program, but we also, by the way, I don't know how you deal with it in Fresno, but we also have, we also go to jail. And we've been given that responsibility as well. And so
my age groups are not housed in my district. So like juveniles are actually outside of my region, the boundaries of our school district. So I do not have that responsibility. Otherwise, I'm sure I would.
Well, we only have the responsibility. If students are minors, then they're the responsibility of the LA County.
Okay, so do you serve up to 22?
Yes.
Wow.
So special ed, and that's specifically who we serve in the jail, because we serve the adults who are in jail who have an open IEP.
Right.
It might have been an IEP that was never, the student was never properly exited out of the program.
Sure.
But they were receiving, we've had a number of cases where the last IEP that was found was an IEP that was written when they were in 4th grade.
Oh my goodness.
But they were never exited. So then, and they're saying that they want to go to school. And so they become our responsibility. And it's specifically those 18 to 22-year-olds.
Right. Exactly. Wow. That's powerful.
So do we have any other groups that we work with? I think that's it. But I don't know. So you probably have a couple more questions for us.
Well, I do, but I want to ask you one other thing about the teleteaching. Now, has that moved to more of an internet-based process, or is it still over the phone?
No, it's internet.
It's not over the phone at all.
Okay, that's what I assumed, that it had changed to all internet-based, but I just wanted to clarify that.
It's internet-based, and a couple of reasons why I see it being really the future, or a prominent piece in the future of what Carlson will be doing, is that we have greater offerings.
Right.
Provide our students through the teleteaching program. And by the way, we're going to be coming up with a different name to teleteaching, because I've been told it's very archaic. And of course, heck, when I said it was like 30 or 40, 50 years old, I guess it could be considered archaic. But
I don't want to think of myself as archaic.
but when we typically with Carlson, when we go into the homes, we provide 2 classes, two different subject areas of instruction, and it's typically math and English. And so whatever other classes the student needs or was taking at their previous school, they're not going to get with us.
Right.
However, when you bring in teleteaching, for those students who are able to handle it, and of course not all of our students are able to handle extra classes, because for some of our students, just one class is challenging.
Right.
And because of whatever their treatment protocols might be, or reactions to medications and therapies, but for those students, like let's say, for instance, a student who has a broken leg, who is pretty much going to be with us for probably 8 weeks, for that student who might be bored out of their mind at home, especially for that student, then they can access other classes that we're providing through teleteaching, classes like the sciences and the social studies, and we're even looking to bring in languages. These are things we've never been able to do before.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting for us.
I attempt with my teachers to offer all of the core curriculum classes. It gets a little challenging because of, especially with Common Core coming in, it's a challenge to see how they're incorporating those materials into the classroom. And I had noticed that you guys were very focused on just math and ELA, and was really curious about how you were processing through that with your students, especially the high school kids that, we obviously don't want them behind in units.
Right.
So it makes sense that that's the way that you're approaching it.
Well, I mean, and it's going to be a bigger and bigger piece of what we do. I'm not sure I see it growing beyond 6 teachers, at the moment. But, but when you have a conversation with a parent or with a student, and they're saying that they need to take these extra classes, then, that just opens up the conversation for teleteaching.
Now, who would address that with that broken leg student? Does your teacher who goes out and meets with the family at first, do they have kind of a script that they go through to discuss those options, or is there an intake process at your school site that happens?
We have an intake process that, it's somewhat of an intake. I'm not sure what the definition of intake is, but I
don't have one, so that's why I'm asking.
because even that is not done the typical way here that it's done throughout the district. And, but we make some decisions here. And, when we look at the referrals that are coming in, and, we plan on offering the teleteaching portion of the program to more and more of the secondary students. But some parents are going to have concerns, and they want someone to come in person, and we have our home program, for that.
Right.
Although home is, teleteaching is another method of home instruction, because, one of the big things, most people, while they're understanding what Carlson is and who we are, they're in the mindset of Carlson goes into the home and provides instruction. They don't know about the because it's new to us. How do you get that information out to 70 or 45,000 teachers and 70,000 employees in the district?
Right, exactly.
And so they may talk with parents and tell parents, well, Carlson, the teacher comes into the home and works with the student. And so that becomes a mindset that the parent has or could have right from the get-go. And if you're offering teleteaching, then you might get some kickback from some. But then when you present them with the issue of, well, your child could actually take more classes in teleteaching, because we have a master schedule of classes that we use in the teleteaching program. So if a student needs to be in let's say Algebra 2A, then Algebra 2A meets every day at 11:05.
Ah, okay, I see.
And if they need U.S. history, that may be the course that's offered at 10:05.
Okay.
And so the student would come in, and they may have a different teacher, for each of those classes. So it mimics more of what actually goes on in the high schools.
Right.
When you
That's
look
great engagement for the kids too, and it really incorporates that whole idea of them being a connected student to other kids through that online learning process.
Right, as well as the whole issue of integrating students.
Right.
Special ed with general ed populations. That is the way we do that.
That's really cool. That is really cool. So I'm going to go back to a couple of the questions that I have on my list. When you are recruiting for new teachers, what are you looking for in your home instruction teachers? That, the teachers that already have a full-time job within your district, how does that process work for you?
So you're talking about the supplemental teachers then?
That's correct.
Okay, not our full-time teachers. With our supplemental teachers, what we used to do, and it became, just untenable to do. But I'm finishing up my 9th year here. Margie's been here for 5 years. Okay. What I came into and what we did for a number of years is as people would call us and say that they wanted to, they're interested in being part of the supplemental teacher pool, we would hold on to their names, and then, at a given time, maybe 2 or 3 times during the year, we would have a big orientation.
Right.
For this new group of teachers. And but then you're dealing with, I need the teacher now. I don't need them 3 months from now. We're going to do an orientation. So how do you handle that? And then so that's how we launched the idea of, well, wait a second, why can't we do our orientation online and have a test that goes with it to make sure that people have actually viewed it,
right?
The different elements of it, and then we up the ante too, because prior to 9 years ago, prior to 7 years ago, probably, we didn't. we just accepted anybody in the program, without without their administrators giving their go-ahead and their approval. So there was no real mechanism there that assured that we had quality teachers. And so, we really upped the ante and made it a much bigger process. The orientation itself probably, if they sit down and do it all at once, it probably would be a 2 or 3 hour orientation. And they can sit down and do that at their home. We send them the Google Doc, the Word doc.
An assessment of over 100 questions and go with the videos.
Right. And then, every 10 questions or so, or 8 questions or so, there's a different video on a different topic. And you click on that link, it takes you over to the YouTube orientation. And this way, we don't have to worry about providing this big orientation 2 or 3 times a year somewhere in the district. And it can be done at any time we need it to be done for the student that we just got today.
Right. Now, do you pay your teachers to go through that orientation process?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
No, but no. Let me leave it at that.
I hear you loud and clear. Same conversation. So for your teachers who are going into the home, the supplemental teachers, how do you see those teachers incorporating Common Core into their instruction?
Well, that's a challenge. Because a lot of Common Core is conversations with other students, and so that becomes a challenge. Obviously, teleteaching starts allowing you to have those types of conversations.
Right.
And do you want to chime in over here?
Well, what we know for a fact is that all the teachers throughout the district have been Common Core trained. And of course, we had to do that with our own full-time teachers as well. So then, and we actually, we do function. I know various home hospital schools throughout the state function differently, but we function as a school. We have our 2 administrators, we have an office manager, we have a counselor, so we have our school nurse. So we have a full staff, a support staff. So
I'm not sure I would call it a full staff.
Well, no,
we don't have enough staff to support what it is we do.
We don't.
Because the problem is that people don't understand exactly what it takes.
Oh, no. No idea.
For example, we have 4 days of a counselor. The reality is we probably need 2 full-time counselors. So we're definitely, but we have I guess our staff is represented by various people, support staff. And so, I mean, we know that much about all 275 teachers or plus teachers that work with us. They've all been Common Core trained. So Joe and I do go in and evaluate our full-time teachers as well as go and observe the supplemental teachers as best we can. But as you can imagine, with that many teachers and only 2 administrators
throughout all the district.
Yeah, down from all the way down to San Pedro, all the way in through the valley. It's LA's pretty big. So we do the best we can. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
So the next question that I have is, this class that I'm taking currently revolves around being a connected educator and connected to technology. How do your teachers, and again, I'm kind of speaking specifically about the supplemental teachers, how do they use technology? And what we've talked a lot about the teleteaching, but how do you see those teachers incorporating more technology into home instruction in the future?
Well, we had, when you say supplemental teachers, are you talking about home teachers that, generically? Because you have supplemental, we have home and supplemental that do this basically the same thing. It's just that they do it at different times during the day.
I guess I'm talking about both of them then. I was trying to make it not so much the 6 teachers that you have that are specifically doing the teleteaching piece of it, but the teachers that are at the hospital sites, that are your full-time instructors that you have, that have the up to the 5 kiddos, and then the teachers that are specifically full-time within LAUSD, but then also pick up the supplemental contract with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the home and hospital teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yes.
Not the teleteachers.
So as far as the question was about technology.
Yeah, how do you see them incorporating more technology into their teaching, other than this increase in the teleteaching program that you're going to be spreading, I'm sure, but are there other ideas that you're floating around out there to try to increase that technology use in the times that they spend with those children in their homes or at the hospital?
Actually, we do a number of things.
Okay.
We've purchased, 100 or so iPads
Over the last several years.
and then we also got another 105 or so iPads from the district, and so we don't have enough iPads for all of our students.
No, of course.
But we do have enough iPads for teachers who ask for them and they want to work with their students with the iPad.
Okay.
The bigger challenge for us is not providing the iPad or a laptop, but the bigger challenge is, what do you do when you go into a home that doesn't have internet?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a huge problem in my area as well, and I'm sure in some of the poorer socioeconomic areas, it's an equal challenge for you guys.
Well, the once Common Core came in, and we had to start doing the SBAC,
Testing.
state testing.
Right.
Then we had, I say we, the district had no choice but to figure this out. No more was it, we're advocating that we need certain things. It was the state saying, you've got to do testing.
Right.
And so how are you going to do the testing? Well, we were working with the district, and that's how we got the extra 105 iPads. But they also provided us with the MiFis.
Oh, that's great.
And so the teacher, the thing about it is that, the MiFi was there with the teacher. So, the student had access while the teacher was there.
Right.
But the student would not have access. Those students without internet access at home would not have the access to use on, after the teacher left.
But it's better than nothing is the idea.
Well, it's a move in the right direction.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally.
I think we need to do more things when it comes to that. We don't, I thought the number of students that didn't have access to technology would be bigger than what it seems like is actually happening, although I don't have any numbers rather than just feelings on that.
Right. That's an interesting question, though. I should poll that same question, as now that you're mentioning it. It would be a good thing to know and to help us plan for budget needs. There's always more to do.
Yeah, there's ever a lack of things to do. But so, the conversations we're having right now with the district is, we have, a certain population of students or a certain number of students, which I can't, say, I can't put a number to that yet, but we have a certain number of students that we need to provide the access to them. Mm-hmm. And so let's have those conversations. How are we going to do it? Rather than the conversations of, well, we just can't do it.
Yeah, can't is not an answer. It's just
no. Because I look at it as an equity issue.
It is, absolutely. We have a responsibility to educate that student, and this is how we're going to get that done.
Right. And you want to say something?
For example, this summer we're doing credit recovery through the teleteaching program exclusively, and we want all the students that want to have the opportunity to recover some credits to be able to, even if they don't have internet access. So we did actually get a MiFi out to, I think, 2 students this summer so that they could do credit recovery, and they're having some success too. So we're really
That's awesome. Now, those students that are doing that credit recovery with you right now, are they students that are having medical issues, or are they just students within the district who were having credit issues and needed that recovery time?
No, they have to qualify for Carlson.
Yeah.
So they qualify for Carlson either through medical, psychiatric
Got it.
reasons, and then, so they have to meet the qualifications.
Got it. That's, and I guess the other question I would have about that is, my administration has always said we are just traditional school days only. Where did you find, either in the CCRs or in the ed code, because it's so vague, how did you start advocating to get your school year extended? Are you specifically just serving those ESY kids on the IEPs, or are you?
Well, the students who have IEPs that advocate for or authorize ESY, of course, we provide the ESY. Before the district had all the budget cuts that we experienced back in, what, 08, 09, or whatever it was.
Right.
Prior to that, all Carlson students received summer instruction. I don't know if that was a function of, well, I'm not sure exactly why that was, but they did. The fact of the matter is they did. But once we started experiencing the budget, crisis, then our summer program was only open to students that qualified for ESY. However, our Beyond the Bell program in the district would provide Carlson some money to provide credit recovery for our students. And I kept trying to make the district understand, that well, it's going to, Carlson cost more money. And so we need more money. The monies that they were giving us, we would be able to provide instruction for maybe 10, 11, 12 students, 13 students at the max.
For credit recovery.
But yeah, we had what we felt, we had 182 students last year, for example, who qualified for credit recovery.
Interesting.
But we were only able to offer, we only had enough money to offer the program to 13 of our students. So that's where, that's another place where we, decided, well, wait a second, if we offered credit recovery, as opposed to a one-on-one program, take that same money, and instead of putting it on the one-on-one instruction going into the home, do it through the teleteaching program, where you can have 5, 10 students in each class at a time with one teacher.
That's powerful. That's really
Why
cool.
not offer it that way? So while this is the first year we're doing it, it's also our way of introducing teleteaching to more students. Like right now we have about 50 students or so in the teleteaching program. So this year we're going to be able to offer, by the end of credit recovery, we're going to be able to hopefully have offered maybe 80 class, students. How did you say it?
So it's about 50 students recovering.
Yeah, recovery.
80 or so courses.
Or more.
Fabulous.
And so we decided to use the little bit of money we got more wisely.
That's really awesome.
And then advocate for more money as well, because we could always get more money.
That's totally what my next question is for you guys, is how do you advocate for HHI? And I kind of feel like you've already answered that question, but do you have any other thoughts you'd like to throw out there about that?
Yeah. The answer is you never stop advocating. Because the things that are important to you in year one are the things you're able to see in year one. But by the time you get to year 9, it's like, well, we still haven't gotten to some of the things that I asked for in year 1. So I have to keep asking for it, and I have to keep making sure that people understand what it is that we do. Because I'm a big proponent to going to all the meetings. Meaning to the principal meetings, to the superintendent meetings when they need. When they're saying that they're going to have a principal advisory group, I want to be on it.
Right.
I want to be on it because if you want to hear the voices of what's going on in LA Unified, then you can't hear everybody else's voice and not ours.
Right.
And so we have a pretty substantial footprint in the district now, because in that more people know about us. And they know about us because we invite ourselves to the table, and sometimes we just go thinking we lost the invitation.
Well, Joe is pretty famous around the district now as the party crasher, because he'll go invite himself to just about any meeting he can get himself into. But the other thing that
but you have to do that.
But what's really good about Joe, I've never seen a principal do this kind of work, but he goes above and beyond when it comes to planning. So he'll write out these very elaborate plans. He'll bring out Excel spreadsheets and plan out funding sources and then take them to his bosses and present them and say, look, this is what we need. Give it to us, and this is how we can expand the program, make it better for our students. And he just every year he's writing up plans several times a year, presenting it to his bosses or to whoever else will listen. So it's he never stops.
Well, we have to send Lisa a plan since she's listening to us now.
You show her your credit recovery plan. So we look at it. The office manager, myself, and the coordinator, and we're confused, and he has to explain it to us. And it's color coded, and it takes us a while to sink in. But he's got that kind of a mind for numbers and for that kind of organization. But what's the point I'm trying to make is he's constantly talking with his administrators, but presenting them with the plan, saying, look, this is all it's going to cost. Give me the money. I'm going to make it work. We'll make it efficient. And this is really good for our students.
So that leads me to a question that's not on my list, but in the hierarchy of LA Unified, where does your school site fall under, are you in secondary? Are you in alt ed?
Well, when historically Carlson was with, was under the division of special ed.
Okay.
And when I started with the district back in 1990, I actually, I started out as a substitute, with 8 years experience behind me as a teacher, but from out of the district, out of the state, in fact. But when I had my 4-year music industry summer break, and then when that didn't quite pan out, I went back into teaching, and I subbed for special ed teacher, by the way. I subbed for about 6 months, and then I found home and hospital instruction, and I found Carlson, and I was a teacher here for 4 years.
Oh, that's great.
And so I was a hospital teacher as well as a supplemental teacher. So I had both home and hospital experience. I left not the district, but Carlson for 14 years to go over to the options program. I did that for 14 years. The last 4 years of which I was the assistant principal at my school. And then I came back here almost 9 years ago as principal. So I forgot what the question was.
It's all about you, Joe. It's all about you.
But I do that all the time.
I think the question was about, really, it's about advocating for your school and how you get that message out.
Oh, you asked about the the hierarchy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. At that time when I was hired to be both when I was a teacher in the 90s, early 90s, as well as when I was hired here 9 years ago we were under the jurisdiction of the Division of Special Ed.
Okay.
Decades.
Yeah.
Just about decades under
Yeah,
special
yeah,
ed.
it was for decades, because it was well established when I was here as a teacher. So I'm assuming it was decades before then. But I had a lot of experience with options, and I started asking the questions even during my interview, by the way, to become the principal here. I started asking the question, well, I have to wonder, why is Carlson even with the Division of Special Ed? Because I know that there's a significant number of general ed students that you work with, and if it's the same as it was when I was here as a teacher 14 years earlier, I mean, you got to ask yourself those questions. So through a series of events, we no longer are under the jurisdiction or the auspices of the Division of Special Ed, but we're under the auspices of the options program, Ed Options. But of course, because we do have, and this is where it goes back into the, my philosophy. We're special ed when I need to be special ed. We're options when I need to be options. Because we do have a very significant portion of our students who are special ed students. Right. But yet we can't deny the fact that we have all the students who are in that are general ed students.
Right.
And so I go to all the different meetings. I go to the, in fact, it wasn't until the options program were presented with the idea of Carlson becoming an option school, because I had already been attending the option principals meetings for a year. They were kind of surprised that we weren't already with options. But yeah, so we go to, because we get a lot of information from the Division of Special Ed. We get a lot of information from options, and I firmly believe that it's really important to advocate wherever it is that you can advocate.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely something I plan on working a little bit more on, but I'm just me, but I'm a great cheerleader. Never was a cheerleader, but as an adult, I'm a cheerleader for HHI. So we've kind of blown through my questions. The very last thing on my list is there anything else that you would like to share about your school, your job, or your perspective on home and hospital instruction?
Do you think of anything? I mean, never stop advocating. I mean, you will never stop advocating for it, because, your kids need you to, because people will never fully understand. They will never understand the job that you do and the responsibilities that you have. Getting back a little bit to, to the different types of teachers that we have, so our full-time teachers work basically between the hours of 8 and 3. Our supplemental teachers, because they work elsewhere in the district, they basically work with us between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. But the other thing that we were very successful in also getting into policy with the district is that our supplemental teachers are also able to provide instruction on Saturdays. And that's Ed Code, by the way.
And that added good flexibility for teachers who are, busy during the school week, of course, but also for students, especially like some of the students that are getting the regular therapies during the week and have to miss so much. Now they have the opportunity to also have the Saturday instruction.
Good.
And I think another thing about there's somebody at the window.
Somebody was at your window. She's got a yellow blouse on.
The other thing about is to never stop innovating, and I think that's where, and that makes it fun for us. But to innovate to the point where you can access more students, offer them more classes to help them from becoming, especially the high schoolers, credit deficient. And that's been, we've been having a great time with the technology and teleteaching over the last couple of years, and we're really excited. And because we're going to kick off something pretty new for next year with the larger offering of teleteaching to our high schoolers. Well, middle schoolers too, but the high schoolers you know, the credit deficient issue is
real.
a big concern for them.
Well, as well as not becoming credit deficient.
Not becoming credit deficient. They're going to become credit deficient. They're going to miss out on their PE courses.
And so, you know, a big selling point is going to be, well, you know, your child can take 4 classes or maybe more in teleteaching, you know, or we can provide 2, you know, if we go into the home one-on-one. You know,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah. Now, by the way, how do you work? You know, when students come to you, do they remain a student of the school that they came from?
Yes, they do remain a student in their home school site. What happens is they are placed in a non-attendance period. So they drop off of all of their teachers' rosters and maintain their enrollment at their home school, but are enrolled in a home instruction course section.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think the other thing that I would love to know is because my teachers or because my students are still part of their home school site, we ask that the home school site's teacher help the home instruction teacher get the appropriate materials for that child. I think it's a huge challenge. The teachers see that the child is no longer on their roster and thinks that kid's gone. It's no longer my responsibility. So do you have a plethora of curriculum at the ready for your teachers to delve into when they get a 4th grader who has broken both their arms?
Yes. You know, we have the material here, although if you read our bulletin, it is the responsibility of the home school to provide the textbooks. One of the issues that we have with that, though, is that the district in many cases give you choices of which textbooks you can work with, and they give you one choice.
Right.
And so, you know, as a school, Carlson had to make a choice.
Right.
And, it may or may not be the same choice that the school that the student came from made. Mm-hmm. And so one of the questions we usually ask is, well, which one are most schools asking for? Which selection?
Right.
Which publisher?
And that's something that right now I don't have any budget to even begin to have the conversation about, but I think it's something that is a growth potential, I'll put it that way.
Well, it's an area you need to, you know, I mean, basically, you know, if you don't have a budget to get the books, then it's a no-brainer that it's the homeschool that needs to provide the books, and
right.
That's non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable, but it is a constant battle.
Uh-huh. You know, how do you collect ADA?
The same way I'm sure you do. A day of instruction is an hour of HHI, and I work directly with our fiscal department to get them those reports of the number of hours that my teachers have met with the students. It's rather laborious right now, but I am going to an online system that I hope will save me a lot of hand entering of numbers. It is archaic at best right now, but next year it's going to be better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we had to create our own systems over here, and in order to collect the ADA. But I was curious, and you know, because the fact that with us the students come to us, so it's, you know, right. It's obvious that we need to somehow report the ADA. But since the students are still in another school in Fresno, I was just curious how you did that. But obviously you're doing it pretty much the same way we are.
Yeah, it is. Basically we're entering the ADA manually, as opposed to, you know, the kids sitting in the chair at the school site. We have to count for those hours, track them, and then as opposed to using our student information system, we bypass that student information system completely and are dropping it into our fiscal services people. So
Well,
it's complicated, but it works.
we're actually, we have a new student information system as of 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So it took them a year to figure out how to get our attendance in, but they've got it now. And so our teachers are able to take attendance.
Because you have, it's one of the things that I have actually really been kicking around is turning my department into its own school so that my teachers could then take that attendance on their own and take advantage of our student information system.
Mhm.
I think it would smooth things out dramatically as far as grading and attendance and just on-time reporting of information. But that's a huge step for me to cross over. It's a large hurdle for me right now, but it's one that I am constantly kicking around trying to figure out how I can get over all those rather large crevasses that are in front of me with that idea.
Good luck with that one.
Thank
Because
you.
it's helped us with our grading too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
saved a lot of time now.
Yeah, I think it really makes a lot of sense, which is one of the reasons why I was asking where your school was housed and how, you know, it's fuel for my fire, essentially.
He said you didn't ask that question.
Well, no, I kind of did in the fact that we're talking about how you, what the hierarchy of where your school falls with you being in the ed options section is why I was kind of asking that.
You didn't mean that you needed to know that we're in North Hollywood.
No, you don't need to know that you're in North Hollywood. Where are you located? Where can I come and see you?
Okay.
You guys have been wonderful. I am so grateful, and it's such a fun experience to get to talk to you guys. And you know, we're doing the same job out there, and it's so rewarding to work in this program. I feel so lucky every day to get to have this job, and then to be taking this class that asked me to think about this stuff, and to have you guys respond so willingly is just really awesome. So,
You know, by the way, are you doing your you know, your ADA in the collection? You're doing it by hand?
I have, yes, essentially I have been doing it by hand, and it is a freaking nightmare, but.
You know, because you know, yeah, we used to do it by hand. We kind of created something to, you know, for a while until we went to the new MISA system.
Mhm. Well, that's one of the things that's happening with the program that we use for our lead teachers and our teacher coaches. They have a separate online system that I was able to kind of glob onto, and they've created a whole nother section for my teachers. So we will automatically be reporting not only the teacher time, but the ADA within that program for next year. So it's going to be fully automated for me, which I will feel like I'm two people because that took so much time. So
If the district can't keep up with us, we create our own things.
yes, exactly.
And the district one doesn't recognize it, by the way. But
yeah, got to. Well, I thank you so much for all of this time and all of your thoughts and your support. It really is powerful, and don't think I'm not going to keep bugging you, because I will.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck to you, and I hope
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and really, I mean, you know, you got an awesome job over there, and I know, you know, we know what it takes.
Yeah, I know you do.
You could be part of a support group.
Yeah.
I know. We need our own support group, huh?
That's right.
Definitely. All right, you guys, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it very much.
All right. Take
Sure
care.
thing.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.